Welcome everybody to Trash Cinema, our weekly little exercise in torturing ourselves with two god awful movies. I am your host, Michael, and my co host.
Tony.
And this week we're going to be exploring the world of martial arts, two craptastic disasters Bruce Lee's Game of Death and No Retreat, No Surrender. And first up on the block, the chopping block it should be, is Bruce Lee's Game of Death. I shouldn't say Bruce Lee's Game of Death because the version we've seen is a mutilated, tortured, beaten to a bloody pulp, confusing mess. There's nothing really to do with his movie.
I'm gonna go with a 100% agreement there, especially with the fact that did they even get him to do his own voiceover for that movie?
Um, this is the thing. For the longest time, I thought that he was filming this after Enter the Dragon ended, like it wrapped production, and he started jumping into his next movie. And he died while doing that. Turns out he was filming this on his own. He had raised the money for it, and he was going to direct, produce, control everything. And all of a sudden, he gets a call from Warner Brothers saying, "Hey, we're going to give you $850,000 for a kung fu flick," which is big, big money back in the day. So he stopped production on Game of Death, finished Enter the Dragon, then died. So he never got to go back and work on any of this. So maybe only in the final fight sequence is that his voice, because the rest of it is so not his voice. That is...
Yeah, I was wondering if it was some sort of, just poorly made production of the video, but now that I know that, I feel a little bit better about it.
If you listen to most of that movie, it's just some lunatic in the background pretending to be Bruce Lee. You're like, is he doing an impersonation of Bruce Lee, or is he having a stroke? Someone call a doctor.
Yeah, no, it's very disconcerting seeing Bruce Lee not do Bruce Lee well at all.
Oh no. Well, I mean, most of the movie isn't even him. I'll say this. The very first time I had seen anything on Game of Death was I was watching a documentary on AMC where it was his wife saying, this is the first time you're going to see the final fight sequence complete uncut, and they just kind of patched the pieces together. And it was amazing. My jaw was on the floor. It was so awesome. And I was like, oh, well, I got to go see the whole thing. And I rented it, and I was like, okay, opening sequence is really cool. It's like a James Bond movie. They even got the John Barry, the guy who does the music for all the James Bond movies.
Yeah.
The second that sequence is over, crap.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no. That is footage from a different movie they used in the beginning, isn't it?
Yes, that is actual footage from... Way of the Dragon, where he calls in Chuck Norris to work on him on that film. So I don't even know if they got permission from Chuck Norris to use his footage again for another movie or not.
Right? When they reuse footage, don't they have to pay you something?
Yeah, I mean, there is some sort of royalties to it to a degree, I believe. Well, I guess you can sign off if it depends.
Man, I bet you even if they had offered him a ton of money, he would have been like, you know what? It looks like I'm wearing a fur coat in that movie. No. Let's just erase the history of my extremely hairy body. I look like a Sasquatch.
Well, what I thought was kind of cool, though, was the fact that, if you actually watch this movie, it feels like one of those Nostradamus situations where he's foretelling his future already in a movie.
Yeah.
And not only that, but also the future of, spoiler alert, his son. I can't help but wonder that if Bruce and his son is out there somewhere just, fighting mob bosses for revenge in actual reality.
Yeah, just all top secret. What is it? I was reading a Green Arrow comic book years ago, Chuck Dixon wrote, where he goes on a road trip by himself. You remember when Connor Hawke took over after...
Yeah.
And he ran into old Elvis and old Bruce Lee protecting some big mob guy, or not mob guy, some just big wig in Vegas. And you're like, wait a second, is Bruce Lee dead? Is this all fake? Oh my god, I knew it.
Right. Well, it wouldn't be as odd if the fact that this didn't come... right before his own death. He was making a movie about him making a movie where somebody kills him in the movie. You can't help but feel that this is kind of just a little plan. Like, he was like, hey guys, I'm trying to let you all know something's going on without really letting y'all know something's going on.
Actually, I'm not so sure about that, because I just watched it, and I feel like, okay, so they used the footage from Return of the Dragon, aka Way of the Dragon.
Yeah.
And then I swear there's a couple of scenes where there's a stand-in, that's where the dialogue comes in about him being killed. And then they patch in footage from a different movie showing him looking up at the sky, wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
I really only believe the only part of the movie that has him in it is the very final sequence, but it's a confusing mess because you got like 8 people playing Bruce Lee in this movie.
Yeah, and you also have 5 background characters that are on repeat. They do things to specifically save on money, and that thing is everyone wears a helmet at all points.
Oh yeah, it's the hard target rule, where they just like we have one stunt guy, let's just put a helmet on him and nobody will notice. Slap
Right.
a mustache and wear a helmet.
I kind of forget that at this point in time there was just some ridiculously over the top crazy combat sequences. I'm used to seeing buzz saws and chain mills and whatever, but having an entire fight sequence in a warehouse with motorcycles just made no sense to me whatsoever.
What's worse is it feels like everybody in the cast who is pretending that Bruce Lee is really there have no idea what's going on. Out of the 5 or 6 main characters, at no point do I feel like they're in the same scene. They're in the same room, but none of them seem to be acting or, it just doesn't feel like there's any cohesiveness whatsoever.
Well, it felt like a really good relay race where one person had the plot and they hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And then they hand it off to somebody else.
Did you notice that there is a guy wearing a cardboard mask of Bruce Lee in one scene?
I did not notice the cardboard mask. No, I noticed a lot of bad clippings, but I didn't notice the cardboard mask.
Seriously, he's looking in the mirror, and when he looks in the mirror, he has a cardboard cutout of Bruce Lee strapped to his face.
Oh man, I need to go back and check that out again. I was just shocked and awed by the really terrible cutting. Like there were just so many bad cut sequences in that movie where they just cut things together where it's like this is clearly a different place entirely.
I love the part where they decide that he needs to get his face beaten in so badly that he needs plastic surgery, and then for some reason the plastic surgery makes him look exactly like he is. Then he just grows a beard and wears shades over it, and I'm like, wait, why did we have... Was it reconstructive surgery, or was he trying to change his look? Because both failed. Both failed horribly.
Yeah, no, entirely. Not to mention the fact that they, at some point, are discussing faking his death and having an open casket, and at no point do you actually see the open casket. They just discuss it. So that entire scene, you're asking yourself, what was the point of this sequence? Why did we waste time with this?
We might have watched 2 different versions of this, because there is a sequence where they show the open casket, and I thought it was incredibly poor taste because they show footage from Bruce Lee's real funeral.
Oh, okay. Maybe I looked away and came back then, because, I don't know, there was just some sequences that were just so painful for me to watch, I swear.
Yeah. The funny part is there's a sequence where he's fighting martial artist Bob Wall, and they're in the locker room.
Yeah,
I know Bob Wall is like a legend for that era, but I look at him going, wow, I guess they didn't really need their martial artists to be physically fit. Because he's a sack of wet potatoes with big arms.
Yes, yeah. It just goes down. And you're just wondering what was the whole point of, bringing up the whole... Actually, I'm going to stop myself right there real fast. Almost every combat in this sequence is degraded by the fact that it happens after they fight somebody else directly before them.
Yeah.
Like that Bob Wall fight. He had literally just got out of a ring with some sumo wrestler guy, which I don't know why they were fighting in the first place. They just happened to be there.
There is a sequence where Bob is fighting Sammo Hung. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I wonder if he feels embarrassed by it now.
Sammo Hung, probably.
Yeah, that's a serious bowl cut right there. Oh man, it'll look bad.
Right. He hadn't come into his martial law days yet.
Right.
That's a TV show.
The final fight sequence, the whole footage when you watch it online, uncut, is a half-hour long. What stuns me is the fact that someone said, "Hey, you guys, we have like 30 minutes of footage of this fight sequence here, and we can put it in, and that's at least a third of the movie." And then someone goes, "Well, let's cut that down by a third and throw 10 minutes of that fight into the final sequence, and we'll make up the rest of it." And I just wonder if that one person goes, "Are you fucking kidding me? No, hold on. I said a half hour. That's like at least a third. We can pad the rest." No, you know what? In fact, let's just throw a minute of it, and then we'll just have 12 guys in different yellow, black suits pretending to be Bruce Lee. It totally makes sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I also like the excessive rubber weapons. Like I like watching the Bruce Lee nunchuck scenes, and you're watching his rubber nunchuck just bending like slightly at the edge.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, ye old special effects.
and the sound. That nunchuck sequence went on for like way longer than it's like. I think the opening credits should be longer than this spinning around nonsense. I love
And you
Bruce
can
Lee,
actually
but that was weird.
tell that they weren't able to do any additional cuts of it too, because there was a scene in the nunchuck sequence where Bruce Lee misses one of his catches, and he kind of just like rolls with it afterwards. Yeah, it was just like he was kind of backing up, going off to the side, and he's rotating his nunchucks, and he literally just misses a grab, and he's like, rebound, let's go, keep going.
And I think one of the coolest things is the fact the final fight sequence is with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Yes.
who was trained
So,
by Bruce Lee, correct?
yeah, I believe Kareem Abdul was learning Jeet Kune Do.
Man, but he's not exactly the most agile. He's a big dude, so his kicks are kind of clumsy.
Yes. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, you know. It's just something that comes with the lengthiness of his legs and arms.
Yeah, but it was a really stunning sequence, and when they wanted him to come back to do more footage, he says, "No, there's no way I'm doing that." At least he had some pride.
Yeah. Then it probably would have ruined his legs and arms and pretty much anything else that he had that he needed to do. Because some of those things that he was doing on there, I can't help but feel personally injured myself watching it. It's like you're gonna rip an ACL doing this.
No kidding, because some of that stuff he's doing these huge spins, and you're just like, "Oh, the knee. Oh no, your hips."
Yeah. You're frightened half the time for the person he's fighting and for himself.
The final sequence is kind of reminded me. Do you remember Kung Fu on Nintendo?
Oh yeah.
It kind of reminded me of that where he went from each level. It just as long as they didn't have any flying snakes at him, it would have been like, yeah, that's an exact rip off a Game of Death.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you know, you'd fight a boss and another boss would appear, and you'd fight a boss, and another boss would appear, and you're like, who made this place? Why didn't he just climb up from the outside?
That'd be an excellent idea. Huh. You know, the funny thing is there's like 4 spin-off rip-off sequels to this.
Oh man.
It made enough money that they made more. I mean, there was a legitimate sequel called Game of Death 2 that they just used 5 minutes of Enter the Dragon, killed him off in the very beginning, and then had Bruce Lee's brother star in the rest. But not Bruce Lee's brother. It's like Bruce L.I. Bruce Lee, and then there's Bruce Liu, and then there's like 4 or 5 different guys who ripped off his last name. That's for sure. Is he the only martial artist where there was rip-offs?
I doubt it. I mean, I imagine there's probably more, only because there's only so many names you can cycle through in the Chinese movie database, and really they were pumping those things out like crazy back in the day. So
yeah, I wonder if there's a Sonny Chiba ripoff, like
no, I don't doubt that.
Like SUNNYCHEEBA.
Oh man. Anyway, so we're hitting the 20-minute mark. Let's walk over to the next movie.
The next movie is No Retreat, No Surrender.
And in case you weren't quite sure about it, watch the movie, because they say it a couple times and make sure you know.
They say it like they're setting it up. Okay, so this is... the company wanted to do a version of Karate Kid with better action sequences. They got the better action sequences, but they dropped everything else that mattered in Karate Kid. It's basically the same story, but the added is because Van Damme is in it, and that's why people I think still talk about it, is because it was his first movie. Otherwise, it is not a notable film at all.
Well, I have to give Van Damme credit. I mean, he actually was pretty good in the movie. I think he was the only person that was actually pretty good in the movie.
Yeah, everybody overacts. They crank it up. Not only, did you notice they overcrank the action to speed it up?
Oh yeah.
I was like, it's pretty amazing as it is. You could probably go back to normal and we'd still be like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, what kind of really creeps me out though is the fact, and they actually portray this in the movie, the kid eventually goes off on his own to train himself.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just train himself. He makes an invisible Bruce Lee lookalike buddy train him.
Yeah, no mention of this kid obviously having a complete and absolute mental collapse.
Yeah, entirely, because I don't know if he's reading things and is teaching himself these things and is just using some sort of mental imaginary buddy to train him, but there's a scene where his best friend in the area comes by and is watching him training in martial arts, talking to nobody, and tossing himself around. Like, this is pre-Fight Club, I kid you not.
Yeah, I mean, at no point does anybody go, we should probably get him help. No one else sees him talking to a ghost. This isn't good. Basic plot setup, it doesn't really even matter, is the kid and his father, they run a dojo. For some reason, the mob comes in and starts buying up dojos. I didn't realize dojos were a big money-marking scheme that the mob would get involved.
Yeah.
And then Van Damme's their henchman. He kicks the crap out of everybody. They move to a new town, and then he's harassed by this really horrid human being, basically a chewed up milk ball of a human being.
Yeah, they went out of his way to make sure there was constantly food surrounding his face.
God, what is that in '80s movies? It's like, well, he's fat. Obviously, he eats all the time. It's not like he has a metabolism issue.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I love the part where they're in the burger joint, and it's just like one of those generic McDonald's burger joints, and his friends are sitting around with him. He's like, "Yeah, guys, you hang around with me, you'll never go hungry." I'm like, I think you only spent $4, so it's not like you're a big money bag. So.
Not to mention the fact that I'm pretty sure you're eating everyone's food, so you hang out with him, you're going to be going hungry.
Yeah. And he antagonizes him to the point where he has a mental breakdown. He develops a Bruce Lee ghost, and he trains him to be a magnificent warrior. And I kind of like the training sequences, except for the fact that it does disturb you that he's talking to a ghost.
Yes, that they don't explain or give rhyme, or they don't even get to the point to where he realizes that it's all his imagination and he finds some profound peace within himself. It's like, no, it's the ghost the entire time.
Yeah. The one thing I did find odd at the end, so at the end sequence, there's a tournament, but apparently it takes place at his high school. I didn't realize they had a boxing ring they could set up at the high school.
Where they could have one of the most well-known champions come by and just do an exhibition for some reason or another.
Yeah, and then Van Damme proceeds to kick the crap out of every single person in the room that's competing. And, of course, our hero just sits there watching someone basically get choked to death. He's like, oh, that doesn't look good.
Look at that.
And all of a sudden the girl gets punched. He's like, I gotta stand up and fight now. And what was his breaking point? Was he going to wait for that guy to get his neck broken and die and go, that wasn't too good. Was I supposed to do something? Crap,
Yeah.
I do
Oh, man, my girlfriend's father, I think, possibly, I don't know for sure, is getting killed. Yeah, whatever. I'm good.
The funny thing is, you give credit to Van Damme. He already had most of his persona down at the time.
Oh yeah. I mean,
he was splits. Yeah. I was reading that he actually didn't know how to do proper movie fighting, and he would actually kick the crap out of the people he was fighting with. They kept warning him, and he just kept kicking them.
You need to learn your distance. You keep hitting people.
There's the funny thing about this movie is not a lot of people know it, but in China where it was basically produced, it's called Karate Tiger. There are 5 Karate Tigers.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
so the second No Retreat, No Surrender, 2 and 3 are actually excellent. They really understand the classic Hong Kong style without the shitty acting. And then King of the Kickboxers is Part 4, and then American Shaolin King of the Kickboxers 2 is Karate Tiger 4. Or Karate Tiger 5. That is very hard to say without getting tongue-tied.
Yeah, no, honestly, as an entirety, it was interesting to see. It really is your basic Karate Kid type of movie without any solid direction or point or reason.
No. So overacted. Acting is not Corey Yoon's forte. Designing action sequence, he designed the action sequences for the first 2 Transporters.
Oh. Huh.
I just want to say this real quick. While we're recording this, I have a crazy person across the street from me apparently deciding to have a complete and absolute mental breakdown. I wonder if he's looking at the ghost of Bruce Lee right now.
I don't know. Is he just fighting around, jumping back and forth? I mean.
Yeah, he's hopping over this thing. He's wandering around their yard. He's talking to himself. Oh man, if he starts doing some kung fu moves, I'm gonna be so happy. And you know what? He's headed over to our yard. This should be great. All right, everybody, that's it for us with Trash Cinema. Thank you for sitting through a couple of crazy kung fu flicks if you watched this beforehand. Seriously, check them both out. They're both on YouTube. They are insane. They're totally worth the time.
Absolutely. Just to see the terrible cuts together, it's totally fun to watch.
And that's it for us here. Check us out on Facebook under Retro Rocket Entertainment, and check out every episode of Trash Cinema we'll have coming weekly. If you have any suggestions, let us know.
Oh, wait. One more thing, guys. If you watch really closely on No Retreat, No Surrender, there's a scene where they literally get rid of the white kid, replace him with an Asian person, so he can do a backflip in the middle of the movie. Look for it.
No kidding, really?
I kid you not, in the middle of the fight sequence where he's like remembering one of the techniques, he does a backflip, and his hair goes from auburn to just straight up black, and he's a little bit smaller.
Oh, wow. That's almost as bad as when they replaced Kiss. They replaced Paul Stanley with a black guy in makeup, and you're like, that's so obvious. That's so insanely obvious. I wonder if it's the same company.
Anyways, I just want to throw that in. Continue.
All right, and I guess that's it. This is Michael signing off.
And this is Tony. Bye bye.
Goodbye.